Hey gang, what's going on? This is Juan from the Byte team. Good night, good morning. I don't know when you're watching this because, of course, this is a little different than what we're used to because I am talking about WWE's Beast in the East live event show that happened in the WWE Network that happened all the way in Japan. So it started over at 5:30 a.m. Eastern, so I woke up at 5 a.m., had some banana bread I made, I got a cup of coffee with my wife, had a great time watching the show, and it's historical, so please remember to leave us your review, your overall impressions on the show by leaving a comment below, and we'll definitely be talking about it, myself, Ryan, and Keith, on the podcast happening next Tuesday, so make sure to subscribe as you can get the podcast right here. So without further ado, let's get right to it with what happened in the show. I want to give my overall impressions first. I thought it was a very, very good show. I won't say it was amazing. It was like a show of the year. Personally, I thought the last TakeOver was really great with Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch and all that stuff. But this was a very, very good show, and I think it had its purpose. Not just historically, because obviously WWE has never been done something like this before. So from a production standpoint, it's amazing. I believe that Michael Cole and Baron Saxton commentated over from the U.S., so I can't even imagine the delays that they had to work around to make sure that all of this just worked really well. It was a different feel because this very much was a house show. The main event, as I'll talk about it right at the end, is an indication that this was a house show that they televised. They changed a couple of things, and I guess they wanted to experiment to see what kind of interest the WWE would gather so early in the U.S. You know, it's 4th of July. A lot of people are probably waking up. They're all across the world. And then, you know, there's other fans that have always talked about it in the U.K. and so many places. You know, WWE happens to me at like 4 a.m. And this is like the first time they get a live event on the network that it is at a good schedule for them. I know a lot of you watching this video right now will agree with me. So it was super awesome. And then the last thing I want to get to before I talk about the matches is the audience. Going into this, my biggest curiosity was how is the audience going to react? Because, of course, I've watched a lot of Japanese wrestling, not recently, but we know that historically they are very different. You know, they are more respectful of the matches, of the wrestlers. They care a lot more about submission wrestling, which we'll get to in the first match. And you know, just to get a feel of what a Japanese crowd will react like during a Divas match, for example. So let's get right to the matches, starting off first with Chris Jericho versus Neville. These two guys had matches the night before. Jericho, I believe, faced Finn Balor in a live event happening in Japan. I believe it was at the same arena, I think. I'm not too sure about that. It was a very good match. I think it set the tone because the other factor is that Japanese wrestling takes a little bit more time in terms that they have more time. So that sounds redundant, but you know, they'll have longer time matches. In Raw, we're used to 5-10 minute matches at most, and here all the matches exceeded 10 minutes as far as I know, except Brock Lesnar versus Kofi, but that's understandable. With this match, the pacing was very different from anything we've seen from Neville either at NXT or the main roster. You know, on Raw, he's right off the get-go, high-flying, going everywhere, you know, doing the handspring stuff, diving to the outside right at the beginning. This was a main event style match in the way that they had to work up to those spots. Like when he dove to the outside, you were waiting, you were anticipating that spot during the whole match. And he's facing Jericho, who has historically wrestled against a lot of up-and-comers. I remember when he faced Fandango at WrestleMania, and he would always bring up in his podcast that he likes to make sure that they understand that the importance of anticipation, of building the crowd for a specific moment. So my guess is that this match was maybe a test even for Neville to see what happens when we sort of strip you a little bit from that which you always do, which is the flippy stuff right at the beginning, which is awesome. And that's part of his character, but can you also add these layers to it and make it mean that much more? And I think that definitely worked. And yeah, this match, there's a lot of stuff that you would not see happen on Raw. So I'm not saying that, you know, Neville is going to slow the pace down now. This was a wrestling match for that specific audience in Japan, because I don't think this type of match would transition very well at all to Raw or any pay-per-view happening at the US. People will be chanting boring left and right. Personally, I enjoyed it. little details like when Jericho did the bow and arrow like move submission hold where he had the knees in the back of Neville, the crowd reacted applauding. So it's little things like that make you really feel the atmosphere, like this is something different. Anybody that's tuning in for the first time that has only watched an audience in the US can definitely tell this is not the same old. The crowd really helped with the pacing. Progressively, they kept, getting more motivated. They knew the Red Arrow was going to come at some point. They knew the Walls of Jericho was going to happen at some point. And I love the fact that, we got the Lion Tamer at the beginning, at the end. Obviously, Jericho won the match, which, that's debatable. I think it works because it's not like Neville is red hot right now as much as the WWE will want to make him seem like he is. I think there's a lot of progress that needs to happen. In NXT, he's injured right now, but Hideo Itami was having a really rough time, at least for me, just getting me to care about him. And I think Neville does the same thing on Raw. He's having that struggle. Wrestling-wise, he's there, but the character, that stuff needs to work. But I think that this is a good step in showing that he does have the potential to work a different type of match. So how do you adapt him so it works a little better? That's the discussion they got to have later. Now, second match, Divas Triple Threat match. If you listened to last week's podcast, I'll post it at the end of the video. I talked about the fact that I like the fact that it's not NXT Divas having a match here, NXT Women Wrestlers, however you want to call them, because we are used to them having very good matches, so it wouldn't be that different from what we're used to. But here we have Nikki Bella, Paige, and then Naomi was replaced by Tamina, and it was a good challenge to see. We complain about all these moments that get cut from Raw, really short matches that end with roll-ups. So here's a triple threat match. Let's see what happens. And honestly, I felt nothing different than from a Divas match that I will watch at Raw. There's a Tower of Doom spot that happened, but honestly, TNA has tired me out from those because TNA did those a lot when they were starting out, and that wore me out, which is the spot in the corner where they do the superplex, but the other person does the power bomb, so the three just sort of fall down in case anybody hasn't watched it yet. And I don't think this match had any build-up. It felt like it was just random moves happening. At one point, I told my wife, you can tell the contrast in the first match. Neville and Jericho, you could tell they were judging or reacting sort of based on the crowd. Like they knew they had the crowd there and they were reacting accordingly. With the Divas match, it felt like they had a match that they knew they were going to do and they did it. And even when they came out, the crowd was very quiet. So I think they should have adapted the match more. Personally, I was actually really tuning in because I wanted to say this was the second best match of the night for all the complaints that we have about Nikki, but all this stuff. And Nikki, by the way, is supposed to be heel, but very much wrestled like a babyface because she beat Tamina the way she did and was like pointing at the crowd. So I'm like, this is a house show, but it is on the network. Now, I get this is kind of sidetracking from storylines that are happening, but that made no sense to me. And what annoyed me the most was the conclusion of the match. There was no build-up at all, no build-up. We saw a bunch of super kicks, Tamina super kick Paige, which meant she was out of the match, and the ending seemed very obvious that it was going to come. So it was going to be Superfly Splash, Nikki Bella was going to move elbow, then maybe rack attack. But no, it was simply elbow. 1, 2, 3. The commentators barely reacted to the finish. The crowd was dull because I could tell, you could feel that they were thinking, okay, where's the move that we were waiting for, the rack attack, the finishing move? But no, the match just ended. So it really sucked that for all the opportunities that we've talked about for the Divas and all that stuff, it was an absolutely normal match, very forgettable, and it should not be the case. Why? I don't know. We can talk about that in daily basis, and we won't get to the basis, right, Matt? Right. So, third match of the night. It was the match that people had a very clear idea of what was going to happen, and it did end up happening. Brock Lesnar, the guy that is on the poster of all this stuff, the show is named after him, and then he's taken on Kofi Kingston. I mean, I was tweeting like, will people please send, their respects to Kofi's family because he's about to get murdered in this match? And that's pretty much what happened. And I think it was a very good opportunity. We were live streaming this weekend, just yesterday on Friday, at Twitch TV/Byte That. And Keith and myself were talking about this. And my comment about the match is the same here. It's not often we get to see Brock Lesnar have a normal match. It wasn't until years ago, his first run where, he was on SmackDown. He was on a lot so he could have matches with a guy like Shannon Moore and just have that build-up match instead of just having the top-tier matches. So it was very nice to just have him a normal match. It was a squash match, but you got to see Brock Lesnar doing something that we will probably never see again. This may be the first and last time in this run where Brock Lesnar doesn't face a guy like Kevin Owens, John Cena, somebody that is not high tier. So I liked it. I liked the fact that Kofi basically, for all the offense he tried, which Kofi Kingston got more offense than John Cena did in their match where he got killed by so many German suplexes. And that says a lot. And if you really compare the matches, you can tell. Obviously, Lesnar didn't react. Lesnar basically was immune to Kofi's offense, but he got the offense nonetheless. And then we saw the New Day get taken out, which, by the way, just quick comment, Primetime Players versus the Lucha Dragons was cut from the show. Cesaro versus Diego was cut from the show. I believe the New Day was supposed to have a match. I don't know what happened there. Maybe they happened off air. I was looking forward to seeing Cesaro wrestle, so that kind of sucked. Same thing with Lucha Dragons, but what can you do? The matches were long, and that's what happens when you have less matches with more time, and I honestly prefer that over a ton of matches with very little time. So not a lot else to say from Brock Lesnar. Obviously, Paul Heyman wasn't there, which kind of sucked, but it's understandable, just flying for the sake of coming out with him. And then arguably the main event, the fourth match, the NXT Championship match, the thing that I woke up at 5 a.m. I put on the network. It is 5:10. I am dead asleep. What's the network playing? The Finn Balor documentary that they've been progressively doing in NXT. They play the full version. This guy is the next top star in the WWE. They're making it very obvious. The people like him. He's got a very marketable look. The guy is, let's face the facts. Heterosexually speaking, he is a really attractive male. Like, he is the next Jeff Hardy in terms of, the girls will go crazy over him. The guys will go crazy over him. He's a great wrestler. He's a humble wrestler. Becky Lynch has thanked him for her career. There are so many things to like about this guy. It almost pisses you off. Like, come on, man. What are you, a perfect human being? Anyway, getting to the match. First of all, we got streamers, which is freaking awesome. Obviously, Finn Balor, very well recognized in Japan, was champion there as Prince Devitt, part of the Bullet Club, all that awesome stuff. And it definitely gave you a different vibe. I actually got emotional a couple of times in this show because there was one tweet, I believe it was from Teenage Creative or somebody, that basically said, this was a wrestling show inside a wrestling arena with a wrestling ring and a wrestling audience. And it was a WWE show. And we complain about the fact that the WWE doesn't do that a lot anymore. So it was really cool to just sit back and enjoy it, especially in the morning with a cup of coffee. It was perfect. So getting to the match, it had the main event feel. This should have closed out the night. There are probably mainstream reasons why Cena had the tag match main event, but we will talk about that in a little bit. To summarize this match had everything that Cena Owens had, with removing one element that we not necessarily complained about, but if there was anything to nitpick, that was it, which is all the false finishes, like all the finishing moves, I should say, that were done, the attitude adjustments, the pop-up power bombs that were being kicked out of. We're seeing that happen a lot in wrestling now, even on Raw with the attitude adjustment. So it was a nice change to see in this match that we didn't get that all the time. Like, yeah, we got a couple of kickouts, but it's not like Kevin Owens did, 4 pop-up power bombs. It's not like Finn Balor did the coup de grace 5 times and they kept kicking out. This match took its time. It was a very slow-paced match. It was another match where I really enjoyed. I'm not sure that you could put this match on U.S. television, like on Raw or something like that, or even a pay-per-view. I don't know how much people would enjoy it, but me personally, let me guys know if you guys liked it or not, guys and gals. I thought it was great because it really took its time. You could feel this was a classic type match. They started out with some rest holds, just setting the tone, like letting you know, sit back because this is going to take a while in the best way possible because there's going to be a conclusion that you're going to be talking about here. And this match got 20 minutes. And all I got to say is Finn Balor is your NXT champion. I can break down the match, but both guys had their performance moves, their signature maneuvers. I love the German suplex into a cannonball combination that Kevin Owens does. I love the tribute that they did with, the Hall of Famer coming out with the streamers, with the flower ritual, the fact that Kevin Owens threw it out there. Little details that once again set the tone for this. And it's hard to speculate what's going to happen now. Is Kevin Owens going to be in the main roster now? What does this mean for Finn Balor long term, since you can definitely tell they're building him up? That's a story for another day. Great match of the night by far, and we have a new NXT champion. Looking forward to see what comes after. And now it is time to talk about the main event. The match everybody was waiting for. I just could not wait for it. Kane and Bad News Barrett versus the team, I can't even talk, of Cigna. Dolph Ziggler and John Cena, I gave him a tag team name because why not? If you listen to the podcast, you know this was a very hard match for me to get into because with the exception of Cena, who was the person I cared about the most in this match, and that says a lot, I don't care about any of the other three guys. Just a quick comment. Kane, he's Kane. He's done it all, and then he's just sort of there. Bad News Barrett has had so many opportunities that have just gone to waste or they don't capitalize. Whatever's happening, it's hard to invest in a character that is red hot one week and then ice cold in the other. Dolph Ziggler overreacts to everything. Even back when I supported him, my complaint was always, if you sell everything, if you make everything matter that much, nothing matters. Because you're giving everything equal treatment. If you react to John Cena the same way you would Heath Slater, no offense to Slater, then okay. So you're just a really weak person or character. So getting to the match, the best way I can describe it was an excellent Raw main event. This is where you could tell, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this is at the end of the day a house show for the fans. We have to understand that, at least for myself, as much as I wanted the NXT match to be the main event, John Cena is a very marketable person. If you're in the U.S. in the Eastern time zone, you're asking people to get up at 5:30 a.m. in the morning to watch the show. You want to get the kids to get up and watch the show. So you got to put Cena at the end because they came out at like 7 a.m.? So, somebody may be waking up, having their cup of coffee, not like us crazy bastards that woke up at 5 a.m. And then that's where the kids watch. And at some point, they tuned into that NXT match. They're like, oh, who's that Finn Balor guy? Hey, he's got really cool face paint. That's awesome. So that is how you bring the mainstream crowd into the NXT. And then you happen to promote the fact that NXT is showing up on Brooklyn in August, which is insane. The day after SummerSlam, the day before SummerSlam in the same place. It is an incredible experience. So I think there was a legitimate strategy that happened there. It's not just Cena wins the law for everything that people want to complain about. But the match worked. After a while, I did, pay attention to it. At the beginning, honestly, I was like, okay, let me check the tweets, see what people think about the show. But it was a very good tag main event. Completely forgettable. It doesn't progress any storylines. I don't think it should have either, so I think that works out very well. Owens did the 5-knuckle shuffle and tried the AA in his match. Cena did none of the Owens stuff, which is okay. And yeah, overall, it was a lengthy tag match. I like that it wasn't the traditional Raw main event tag match, which I, most of the time, just tune out because I don't care about it. But I think match for match, with the exception of the Divas match, all of them served their purpose. Match 1 give Neville a new opportunity. Match 2 shows us that the Divas division on the main roster needs a lot of work. Match 3 shows that Brock Lesnar is freaking dominant. Match 4 shows that NXT really is the future. The guys coming out of there are amazing. Match 5 is like, well, here's your pillow that you've been using for a couple of years. It's comfortable, it's cushiony because, you've been resting in it for a while. Weird metaphor. It's really early. It's like you just go along with me here. So overall, the matches are really freaking good. Commentary was really good between Byron Saxton and Michael Cole. JBL joined alongside in the main event, which, okay. The last thing that I want to point out is that just a little detail. We end with the tag match, but they end with a slow motion cut of Finn Balor being the champion. Once again, you tune in for John Cena, you get Balor at the end. You're curious, guess what? If you're on the network, you can watch NXT, you can watch Finn Balor, you can check out all that stuff. So, very strategic show. Should the WWE do more stuff like this? I think Wrestling in the Morning's awesome on a Saturday. I mean, I used to watch WCW shows on Saturdays, a lot of stuff, so that the WWE should continue to do something like this once or twice a year, because then it just becomes part of the norm. But something like this, where it's like Brock Lesnar, John Cena, main event caliber talent, not superstars, not main event, the top tier guys, and see something a little bit different. Let's take a little bit of break from the stories, even though we got the handshake thing at the end happening between Owens and Balor. But overall, WWE Beast in the East, do you need to watch it? Yes. Are something skippable? Yes. Could it have been better? Of course. You can always say that about anything. But check it out. Let me know what you thought about the show by leaving a comment below. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. It's like over there, or it's somewhere in the screen. And yeah, it's great. Check out the podcast on Tuesday. Check out Fight Night if you haven't. If you're done with this and you just want to see more wrestling with time traveling, with so much stuff happening, check out the Fight Night season finale. And if you like that, there's a lot more on the channel. So until next time, thank you for watching, for hanging out with me, for hanging out with us on Twitch, all this good stuff. And we'll be back with this and tons more right here on Byte That. I will now not go to sleep because I'm already awake, but I'm probably going to fall asleep really early today. Thanks for watching.